What is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Want to first and foremost wish a happy new year to all my friends out there of the Jewish faith, and wanted to hop on here really quick to actually read everybody something that I was recently given to look over, review, and get my opinion on. So before I begin, I want to ask everyone to chime in. Where are you tuning in from? What city, what state? From another country? Let us know. Let us know what country you are tuning in from. Always love our international viewers and listeners. So what I'm going to do today is share with you something that was sent to me that was very eye-opening to me. And I want to get your feedback and really educate you. Sunday's a good day to kind of step back from all of the crazy stuff out there and maybe read something and just relax and put your feet up. So you might want to share this message with someone in your world that has maybe heard this, is dealing with this. Maybe you've been dealing with it as well. I know this was something that I had no idea about. You know, I read a lot, I talk to a lot of people. However, when this was sent to me, my eyes were opened. And let me tell you, I think your eyes are going to be opened as well. Once again, you guys know, I don't get into politics. I don't get into what he said, what she said, this guy, that guy. My stance on politics has been very clear. How I feel about both sides, the rights and the wrongs of both sides. So I think having two sides is a flawed system anyway. But I wanted to read this because it was very relevant to what is going on today. So I'm going to share it with you, and I'm just going to read what was sent to me. Now, this article was written by a woman named Robin Stern. She's a doctor, a PhD, and she's out of Yale University. So, right, a lot of people say, well, you know, these universities, they're liberal, and these professors are preaching these liberal, left-wing, crazy ideologies. So let me just start out by saying this seems to be very directed toward what is happening right now in this world. So take this for what it is, and don't say, okay, well, this woman is a PhD professor at Yale, so she automatically must be some left-wing crazy person, right? Let's not be that way, because we don't want people to be that way about us, right? So I'm going to read this, and it's going to take about maybe 3 minutes to read, all right? So if you have 3 minutes, let's strap in and listen. If you don't have 3 minutes and you're too busy and you need to keep scrolling and doing something else, watching TikToks or something, that's okay. But this is something educational to maybe walk away from this Sunday being a little bit more educated and a little bit more enlightened about something that's going on in our world today, right? So, Robin Stern, PhD. She's a psychoanalyst, decades of experience treating individuals, couples, what have you. So I'm going to read this. This is going to be good, okay? So as you saw in the title of the video, what is gaslighting? You've probably seen a lot of people point the finger and say, oh, this person is gaslighting. This person is gaslighting. This person is gaslighting. You're hearing it a lot in the media, politicians pointing at other politicians saying, oh, they're gaslighting, they're gaslighting. I've seen it on CNN. I've seen it on Fox News. Remember, if you truly want to be in the middle, you should be watching both, or you should be watching nothing, right? I try to watch both and get the opinions, views, and insights of what both sides are, right? Because I don't say, well, I belong to this side, I belong to this side, and automatically I believe everything that this side said. Or if I'm on this side, I automatically believe everything blindly what this side said. That's foolish, right? And we would never do that in life outside of politics. So why do we do it when it comes to politics? So being in the middle, get from both sides. Here we go. Have you ever heard or asked yourself, am I going crazy? Have you ever asked yourself that you're not crazy? If you've ever asked yourself that, you're not crazy. You're most likely being gaslighted. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse aimed at controlling a person by altering their reality to the point where the person will doubt their own sanity. The term gaslighting comes from a 1930s play called Gaslight. The main character in the play literally tries to drive his wife crazy by gradually dimming the gas-powered lights in their home. Guys, don't do this, all right? It might end badly for you. When she notices the lights dimming, her husband not only denies that the lights are dimming, he convinces her that she's imagining it to the point where she questions her own sanity, right? Okay, this is where it starts getting good. Are we living in a perpetual state of gaslighting? The reality that we are being told by the media is at complete odds with what we are actually seeing with our own two eyes. And when we question the false reality that we are being presented, or we claim that what we see is that actual reality, we are vilified as racist or bigots or just plain crazy. You're not racist. You're not crazy. You are being gaslighted. New York State has twice as many deaths from COVID-19, and our headquarters is in New York City, and I was born and partially raised in New York. New York State has twice as many deaths from COVID-19 than any other state. And New York has accounted for 1/5 of all COVID-19 deaths. But we are told by the media that the New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, has handled this pandemic better than any other governor. But if we support policies of governors whose states had only a fraction of the infections and deaths as New York, we're called anti-science and want people to die. So we ask ourselves, am I crazy? No, you're being gaslighted. We see mobs of people looting stores, smashing windows, setting cars on fire, and burning down buildings. But we are told that these demonstrations are peaceful protests. And when we call this destruction of our cities riots, we are called racist. So we ask ourselves, am I crazy? No, you're being gaslighted. We see the major problem destroying many inner cities is crime. The major problem destroying many inner cities is crime. We could all agree with that. Murder, gang violence, drug dealing, drive-by shootings, armed robbery, babies being shot. But we are told that it is not crime, but the police that are the problem in the inner cities. We are told that we must defund the police and remove law enforcement from crime-riddled cities to make them safer. But if we advocate in any way, shape, or form for more policing in cities overrun by crime, we are accused of being white supremacists and racists. Now, I'll stop there. I have said that I've spoken to people in these inner cities, black people, and they are saying that the crime is so bad that they want more police, not less police. Their fear for their children is getting killed by gang violence, not by the police. But the media doesn't tell you that. But when you go to these cities, they'll tell you that, okay? So I have been called a racist. I have been called Uncle Tom. I have been called all these other things when I, as a man of color, have said that the problem in these cities is not cops, these rogue 1% cops that are bad cops, right? No one hates bad cops more than good cops because it makes the good cops look bad. That's why we hate the bad cops, right? So, but I'm told You're racist, you're this, you're that. If you say that black on black crime, gang violence, murder, rape, all that stuff, if you say that's the real problem in these cities, and I've said it, I'm called the racist Uncle Tom, bootlicker, whatever, right? So let me repeat that. But if we advocate for more policing in cities overrun by crime, we are accused of being white supremacists, which I guess I've been called that too, and racist. So we ask ourselves, am I crazy? No, you're being gaslighted. The United States of America accepts more immigrants than any other country in the world. The vast majority of the immigrants are people of color. That's a fact. And these immigrants are enjoying freedom and economic opportunity not available to them in their country of origin. And they will tell you that. But we are told that the United States is the most racist and oppressive country on the planet. And if we disagree, we are called racist and xenophobic. So we ask ourselves, am I crazy? No, you're being gaslighted. Now, as the son of someone who came to this country from a foreign country, my mother, for a better life for her children, I can tell you firsthand that move that my mother made to come here to this country for a better life for her children is 100% true. Because I've seen the conditions in which children are raised in the country she came from. And in some cases, they're horrific. Okay? So, on top of that, I've spoken to countless immigrants who left their country because of lack of opportunity, they didn't see potential there. So they came to this country. Now, I've talked to people who've come to this country legally. I've talked to people who've come to this country illegally, okay? And they've all said the same thing, that coming to America and dealing with the struggles they have to deal with in America pale in comparison to what they had to deal with in their country, and they would have never had the opportunities that they have here in America that they had back in their homeland. And that is why they came here. Now, some of them come here, they take advantage of the opportunity that this country affords them, and they send money back to their family in their home country, okay? I know people who are here working like dogs. They're like working to the bone, and they are sending almost all their money back home to their family, okay? They care about their family, they love their family, and they knew that the opportunity to work and earn that kind of money does not exist in their home country. You may know someone like that too. You may know someone who came to this country with nothing in their pocket, like my mother, and just worked, didn't even quite speak the language, didn't have a good grasp of the language. And they came here and they worked, and now they are hugely successful. I can't even tell you how many people I know that came to this country not speaking the language, didn't have a pot to piss in, a window to throw it out of, and they hustled and they became successful. They had a lot of adversity that they had to overcome, but they did it. And they did it because coming here and having to fight that adversity paled in comparison to what they would have had to do back home, right? They would have had no opportunity back home. Okay. I'll continue with Robin's report. Capitalist countries are the most prosperous countries in the world. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. The standard of living is the highest in capitalist countries. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. We see more poor people move up the economic ladder to the middle and even to the upper wealthy class through their effort, hard work, and ability in capitalist countries than any other economic system in the world. But we're told by the media, by the mass, capitalism is an oppressive system designed to keep people down. So we ask ourselves, am I crazy? No, you're being gaslighted. I'm not going to get into the conversation about the success of capitalist countries because the evidence is overwhelming. You could just look, you could just do the research yourself. Capitalism has an incredible track record, okay? So when people say that if you support capitalism, somehow you are a crazy person, well, you're not crazy, you're being gaslighted. Okay. Communist countries have killed over 100 million people in the 20th century. Let me say that again. Communist countries have killed over 100 million people in the 20th century. Communist countries, and that's a fact, you could look that up. Communist countries strip their citizens of basic human rights, dictate every aspect of their lives, treat their citizens like slaves, and drive their economies into the ground. But we are told that communism is the fairest, most equitable, most free, and most prosperous economic system in the world. And I've read certain people in this country that are on a certain side of the fence that have said just that. So that's not, that she's not making that up. That is true. There are people who are saying that communism is the way to go. And I'm going to read that again, right? We are told that communism is the fairest, most equitable, most free, and most prosperous economic system in the world. Although the evidence proves that the people who live in communist countries are living a very, very harsh life. And communist countries have killed over 100 million people in the 20th century. So you ask yourselves, am I crazy? No, you're being gaslighted. The most egregious example of gaslighting is the concept of white fragility. You spend your life trying to be a good person, trying to treat people fairly and with respect. You disavow racism and bigotry in all its forms. You judge people solely on the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. Now let me stop here. Let me stop here and say, most people. This is where I would disagree with Robin, the PhD. I'm no PhD, but this is where I would disagree with Robin, where she seems to be categorizing all white people as loving of all races, all skin colors, all. We all know that's not true, okay? We all know that not all people, white, Hispanic, Asian, we all know that not all people judge people based on their character and not the color of their skin, right? We all know that's not true. But I will say that for the most part, most people do, okay? Okay, so let's keep going. You judge people solely on the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. You don't discriminate based on race or ethnicity. Most people don't. Some do. Very small percentage. But you are told you are a racist not because of something you did or said, but solely because of the color of your skin, which is true, right? This new trend of making white people feel bad for being white and that they're inherently racist because they are white. Although they've never said anything racist to anybody. They've never done anything racist to, they've completely just diluted the term racism, right? So now, if you have white skin, you're a racist. If you wear a red hat that says Make America Great Again, you're a racist. If you don't say Black Lives Matter and you say All Lives Matter, you are a racist. That's what they're saying, right? You don't discriminate based on race or anything, but you are told that you're a racist, not because of something you did or said, but solely because of the color of your skin. You know instinctively that charging someone with racism because of their skin color is itself racist, which is true. If you say you have white skin you have white privilege, and because of that, you are racist, then you are saying essentially what the opposite is, right? So discriminating against people of color because of the color of their skin, now you're saying you're discriminating against people who are white because of the color of their skin. So it makes no sense, right? You know that you are not racist. So you defend yourself and you defend your character. But you are told that in defending yourself, that is proof of your racism. And we've seen that. We've seen white people who say, listen, I don't have a racist bone in my body. I've never hurt anyone of color. I've never spoke disparagingly about anyone of color. How am I a racist? And people point the finger and say, you're a racist. You're white, you're privileged, you're a racist. And these people are like left shaking their head. They're like, what are you talking about? How am I racist? I've never done anything to harm people of color, black people, brown people, anyone. No, you're a racist. So those people may ask, am I crazy? You see people posting on Instagram and Facebook, I'm white, I've been white my whole life. I've never done anything to hurt people, black people, people of color, brown people. But I'm sitting here reading all this and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, maybe I am racist, maybe I am this, maybe I am this, maybe I'm racist and I don't know it. And I see all these people posting this crazy stuff. And they're questioning whether or not they're actually racist, but they've never done anything racist in their life. So you may ask yourself, am I crazy? No, you're being gaslighted. I'll continue reading. Gaslighting has become one of the most pervasive and destructive tactics in American politics. It is the exact opposite of what our political system was meant to be. It deals in lies and psychological coercion, and not the truth and intellectual discourse. If you ever ask yourself if you're crazy, you're not. Crazy people aren't sane enough to ask themselves if they're crazy. That's the best line of this whole paper. So I'm going to read it again. If you ever ask yourself if you are crazy, you are not. Crazy people aren't sane enough to ask themselves if they are crazy. So trust yourself. Believe what's in your heart. Trust our eyes over what we are told. Never listen to people who tell you that you are crazy because you are not. You are being gaslighted. So, once again, and this is an article you can look up. It's by Robin Stern, PhD out of Yale, highly educated woman. And like I said, a lot of people will look at Yale and say, well, this is a left-wing person. To me, Robin doesn't come off as being left-wing or right-wing. Robin comes off as being a scientific academic that is talking about a psychological phenomenon, gaslighting, and is saying it as it is right down the middle. So I wanted to read that because, one, I love reading articles by people on both sides of the aisle, if you would. Like I said, I don't think there should be two sides of the aisle, but I enjoy reading things by people on both sides of the aisle because it gives you a broader perspective of what's going on. Blindly believing what the side that you are supposed to belong to, and not believing anything else or just dismissing anything else you hear from the other side is dangerous and flawed, okay? So when you look at what Robin said about gaslighting, and I know, it was very intriguing to me because I know that over the last few months with everything going on, especially with, the elections aside, the elections are just crazy, right? Every 4 years, it's just crazy. But with the COVID-19, right, and the coronavirus going on, we've heard so many conflicting things. And once again, like politics, we have a divide. We have the people over here who are the coronavirus is real, it's dangerous, you need to wear your mask, you need to social distance, and if you don't, how dare you, you're disrespecting the health of your fellow Americans, and yada, yada, yada. And then over here, you have the people who are saying, this is all for nothing. This is like a hoax. This is a scam-demic. There is no virus. The death numbers are being inflated. Even the CDC has come out and said that the numbers are actually down here when they were originally reported up here. The masks that people are wearing don't even work. There's no science to prove 6 feet apart. That was a made-up number. You know, you can, if someone sneezes or coughs, that travels for up to 40 feet. You know, so all of this stuff that's being put in place is for some kind of political like hoax, or, you know, to divide the people even more. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be all done, you know, the day after the election. So you have those people over here, and then you have the people over here who are true believers in the virus, right? But once again, it's divided, right? It's one more thing that has divided our country. And you ask yourself, when you hear certain things, because I'm not going to lie, in the beginning, I was over here, and I was like, listen, this is serious. This is serious. This could kill you. This is a deadly virus. Wear your mask, right? Put your mask on. Stay away from people. Don't go out unless you need to go out, because it's highly contagious. And, you know, and I'm a science guy, studied biochemistry in university, you know, graduated pre-med. I have a respect for science. So I was over here. I was the staunch mask supporter and all that stuff. But then I started seeing things that just didn't make sense. I stopped, and I'm like, not just believing everyone on this side. I look at everything. And one of the things I noticed was that I'm looking for like a piece of cloth. I noticed that I was wearing my mask, and I was being, you know, very strict on the rules of the mask wearing. And then I realized that people were going into the stores that I was going into. I was going into, you know, I had a pipe leak, so I had to go to Home Depot, right? So I had to go to Home Depot. And I was in the process of fixing up a house I was selling. I had to go to Home Depot to fix this pipe, right? And I'm wearing my mask. I'm covered up, and I'm saying I'm doing the right thing. And I see people walking into the store holding their shirt over their head like this, and walking into Home Depot, and they're just walking around like this, you know, getting what they need. And I'm saying to myself, wait a second. And nobody in Home Depot is saying anything, because that is allowed. Because it said, you just need to have a face covering on. It doesn't need to be a mask. It just needs to be a face covering. So you could at least take a piece of fabric and just kind of put it over your face like this and walk around. Based on science, that is actually doing nothing. The reality is, taking your shirt and putting it over your face like this has been proven to be actually worse for you than putting on a mask. Because I'm not going to get into the science of it, but the way the fabric is set actually can divide the droplets, if you would, and increase their ability to penetrate and get into you. So wearing a non-surgical mask, N95 mask, is actually better than just pulling your shirt over it's actually worse just putting this cloth over your face. And I said, how is that allowed? And then I'm realizing that more and more reports are coming out that the masks aren't as effective as they first said, okay? And then people were saying, well, it actually seems like wearing the mask can actually put you at higher risk, because you're taking the mask on and off your face, and then the droplets are getting on your fingers, and then you're touching your eyes, and I was like, wait a second. And then you look at the photos of the people in the labs dealing with coronavirus, and they're wearing the full suit, the hood, the astronaut suit. And I'm saying to myself, if they're working with the coronavirus in a controlled environment, scientific lab, why are they wearing that kind of suit and out in public In an uncontrolled environment, you can just simply do this and you're okay. That's where things stopped making sense for me. And that's when I realized something was off. I realized something was off when I went to Home Depot and I'm standing in line for the checkout with about 30 other people. No one's really respecting the social distancing, but people were somewhat about 3, 4, 5 feet apart, right? I don't know if anyone was truly 6 feet apart, but I'm in line at Home Depot on a line of 30 plus people waiting to check out inside Home Depot, okay? And there's no problem with it. Everyone's wearing their mask and we're all waiting online to check out. No problem. But then out of the blue, they say, we can't have voting. We have to do mail-in voting because we can't have people waiting online at the voting stations. Now, I've been to the DMV and stood online with people with masks on. Some people at DMV and Home Depot are just doing this, holding their shirt over their face. And that's acceptable. They're not being kicked out. They're seen, they're noticed, and it's acceptable, right? I've been on an airplane with about 100 other people where during the snack and drink distribution, everybody has their mask off and everyone's eating and drinking their water or whatever for about 40 minutes. And then everyone puts their mask back on. So if we can do that, why can't we go to a voting station and vote? Which, by the way, I don't recall ever waiting on an actual line when I went to vote, ever. But maybe in some places you do, but I haven't talked to anyone who's had to wait on a long line. But if you did have to wait on a long line, maybe it was outside. So I say to myself, once again, this doesn't make sense. I'm a believer in the masks and I was a believer in the virus. But then I said, wait a second. How in the world are they going to say you could be online here with a whole bunch of people holding your shirt over your face like this and you're fine, but if you want to be outside on a line waiting to vote, it's not okay? And I said, am I being crazy? Am I crazy? Am I crazy right now? This is not making sense, right? And that's where Robin's article came into effect, where I was like, I'm not crazy. I'm being gaslighted. I'm not crazy. Because I was saying to myself, am I crazy? You're not crazy. If you've asked yourself over the last couple of months, am I crazy? You're not crazy. You're being gaslighted. You're a sensible human being that's questioning something that doesn't make sense. You started doing this as a child, right? As a child, you would question something that didn't make sense. You would ask to go to a friend's house. Your mom would say no. You would say, why? And she would just say, because I said so. And you would say, because I said so isn't an answer. That doesn't make sense. Why can't I go to Jimmy's house? Because I said so. I went to Jimmy's house yesterday. Well, yeah, today I'm saying you can't go. But why? Because I said so. You questioned that and you said to yourself, am I crazy right now? Am I crazy? What changed? What changed? So if you're waiting online somewhere surrounded by people and you're asking yourself, wait a second, why can't we go vote if I'm standing online right now surrounded by like dozens of people inside a building? You're not crazy. You're being gaslighted, right? So this is something that we are seeing things that simply don't make sense. We might be questioning in our mind, like, does this make sense? But some people are just so close-minded that they're like, well, I'm on the left or I'm on the right, so I got to believe every single thing that the right believes or the left believes. I'm voting for Joe Biden, so I got to believe everything that aligns with the Joe Biden campaign message. Or I'm Trump 2020, MAGA, make America great again. So I have to align with everything that the Donald Trump party puts out. No matter what, whether it makes sense or not, I gotta believe it because otherwise how about you stop looking at the parties, you stop looking at the sides, and you say, you know what? I'm a sensible human being. I'm an independent person. I have a brain, and I'm going to take a look at things that just don't make logical sense. And I'm going to form my opinion. You can be on the left, but question something the left says. You can be on the right, but question something Donald Trump says. It's okay. You can do it. That's called having a brain. That is called having your own conscience. Making your own informed decision. Because if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Right? Right? If you're looking at it and this doesn't make sense, you're probably not crazy. You're probably spot on. Because you know you're a rational human being for the most part. You know things that don't make sense. Don't blindly believe them, no matter what side you're on. Okay? So when it comes to the politics or what people are saying about coronavirus, just think about it. One of the other things that really, and I'll end on this, what really blew me away was right here in New York City. Hundreds and hundreds of people were allowed to gather, and this has nothing to do with the organization, right? This has something to do with the action that took place. And once again, you see me, right? I have black skin, okay? And I've dealt with racism, a lot of it. But we move on, right? I'm not going to sit here in this victim mentality and just like play victim all day long, right? But there was hundreds of people at this Black Lives Matter event, painting with brushes, rollers, Black Lives Matter in the street, and all this stuff. Some people had masks on, some people didn't have masks on, whatever. And it was absolutely allowed. It was allowed, no problem. No problem at all. Hundreds of people. A friend of mine passed away. And we don't know if it was COVID or they just put COVID on the whatever. But anyway, that doesn't matter. They passed away. His family was not allowed to have a funeral because of COVID-19. Now, there was only about maybe 12 people that they wanted to have outside at the cemetery to have a proper burial, right? 12 people. I think that's what they said. 12 people. 12 people. Everyone can be not 6 feet apart. Everyone could be 16 feet apart. Everyone could be wearing a mask. 16 feet apart, all 12 people. And they were told no. And this is in New York. When I saw that, and that kind of hit home because it was one person removed from a friend of mine, that's when, prior to that, I was like, hey, listen, people who were complaining they couldn't get together for 4th of July and their party, I said, hey man, there's a pandemic. Stop being selfish. Stop being selfish. It's a pandemic. Do your part. Wear your mask, and that's what I would say to people. But then I saw hundreds of people, many not wearing masks, at a Black Lives Matter rally, which I support whatever, as long as it's peaceful. As long as it's peaceful, I support whatever you're doing. As long as you're not burning anything down, harming other people, damaging property, I'm okay with it, as long as it's peaceful. You hold your signs, you don't block traffic, you don't damage anything, good. And these people were together, hundreds of them, at a Black Lives Matter rally, and they were doing their thing. And literally, that same time period, This person's wife and children and family were told that they were not allowed to have 12 people 20 feet apart outside at a cemetery because of COVID-19. Folks, that's when I asked myself, am I crazy? Am I crazy right now? Or is this not making sense? And that's when I realized, you're not crazy. You're being gaslighted. So think about this the next time you're looking at something. From now until the election, and even after the election, in life in general, don't put yourself in that bucket, in that bag, in that hole with the party or the people that you feel like you belong to, and you got to just believe everything they say or else you're not a loyal member of that side. And just stop and look at it with your own two eyes, listen with your own two ears, and ask yourself, does this make sense? We'll see you next time.